Hello, everyone, and Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather on the 25th day of December 2020. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show once again. Up first, hazardous weather graphic. We've got wind advisory out for the Alaska range there, and that's out until, well, let's see, midnight tonight is that the wind advisory there for the eastern Alaska range. West of the toe cutoff, looking for gusts to 55 miles an hour, and again that's out until midnight tonight. And then there's a high wind warning out for Juneau, northern Admiralty Island area until, let's see, 9 p.m. this evening, or I'm sorry, 6 p.m. this evening. So a few more hours. Northeast Taku winds gusting 60 or more miles an hour there. And then finally, there's a winter storm watch out for the northeast Prince William Sound. You can hardly see it there with the red dot next to Valdez, but it's specifically for Thompson Pass. And that kicks into effect 6 a.m. Saturday morning to 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon. And got a system coming up, and that could drop 1 to 3 inches of snow, but the winds gusting to 45 miles an hour with 1 to 3 inches of new snow. That'll create whiteout conditions at times, otherwise known as blizzard conditions. Visibility is less than a quarter mile. So kind of a dicey trip through Thompson Pass tomorrow in that time frame, again from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's just a watch. It's possibly conditions are right for blizzard conditions possibly to develop. They may not. It may go to a warning, or the watch may get canceled. We'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, that's it for the watches, warnings, advisories around the state. Not too bad anywhere else at all for the next 24 hours or so. And satellite imagery showing a pretty good cirrus cloud shield in and along the Yukon River there over the central interior, spreading up across eastern Brooks Range to the eastern North Slope, and then back down into a little bit more thicker cloudiness into the Kuskokwim Valley and south and east of the Alaska Range, but some breaks coming into Prince William Sound. Along the North Gulf Coast, see some clearing there with some shower activity, mixed rain and snow. Nothing too terribly heavy occurring there. Amounts pretty light, and rainfall amounts over the Panhandle. That system moving northwestward there off the coast, a little bit more of a wind producer. Again, the gradient there helping kick those northeast winds up for the high wind warning there for those Taku winds in the Juneau area and Cape Spencer on the north coast of the Panhandle. They had peak wind gusts of 56 miles an hour with that system moving just to the west there. And winds, let's see, Five Finger had gusts 36 miles an hour over the inland areas there, and basically gusts 50 miles an hour along the central and south coast of the Panhandle. Juneau seeing gusts 40 miles an hour in closer to that wind warning area. And then Eldred Rock, north gusts 46 miles an hour there in Lynn Canal. And out west, not a lot going on. Low pressure spinning over the just west of the Pribilofs there. That brought some light snow showers to both St. George and St. Paul today. And a narrow band of kind of enhanced snow showers. You can see barely a line there extending down toward Unalaska, the western Alaska Peninsula areas. And then a big cloud shield there now coming up to the western central Aleutians. That's the next big storm that'll be moving in. Otherwise, we've got a lot of cold air in over the northern Bering Sea to the Bering Strait. And looks like winds will be turning southerly. We'll see another push of warm air of that system coming into the western Aleutians of the Bering Sea. Pretty strong low center down into the pressure is expected to fall under 940 millibars for tomorrow, and it moves on up. And on the chart today, though, much weaker systems. We got a 985 millibar low there, somewhere near the Aleutian Range or into Bristol Bay. Center kind of hard to pinpoint there. Not really all that strong, but holding together enough to keep cloudy skies with areas of light rain and snow. Dillingham seen kind of go back and forth between the rain and snow today into Bristol Bay and possibly southern Cook Inlet. Kodiak Island precipitation ended, just cloudy this afternoon with dry conditions. And snow showers are that low over the central Bering Sea. Pribilofs, although bulk of the activity off to your west. And then snow showers persist, but really scatter out and become isolated as you go northward there over the western interior into the western Brooks Range. Point Lake still carrying some light snow showers this afternoon, as was areas there north of Selawik and the Tin City, light snow. But partly to mostly cloudy skies, dry for St. Lawrence Island. Wind's not too bad, a little brisk, but they usually are there. And Panhandle, that low off the coast, weakening slowly, but pulling northwestward, and a tight enough gradient, as you can see over the northern Panhandle there for the windy conditions. Less wind down to the south. And rainfall amounts, really nothing significant occurring there at all today with that. So there's a little bit more of a wind than precip producer. And for tonight, that system will pull west-northwest. And again, later tonight, bring the storm force winds into the North Gulf Coast, at least for a short period of time, possibly 50-knot winds expected. And that'll last, again, from late tonight into early tomorrow. And the gales into Prince William Sound also possible. And then that'll also kick the winds up in Thompson Pass tomorrow, and a little bit of light snow could fall. And so, again, the watch there, winter storm watch out for that area. Otherwise, trough at the surface and aloft continues a chance of snow showers over all of the west coast there, south of the Seward Peninsula to Bristol Bay. And then the big storm with the storm force winds and gales coming into the central Aleutians, or the front pushing in toward the central Aleutians, bringing the heavier precipitation and wind to Adak and Atka. And you'll see a gradual increase in the winds in the afternoon for the Fox Islands, but should stay dry, or will stay dry. Same thing for the Pribilofs. You won't even see an increase in the winds for St. Paul and St. George Islands. And then for the day Saturday, tomorrow, 936 millibar low, as I mentioned, to near Amchitka, and the front pushes eastward to about Unimak Island. So look for gale and storm force winds, especially definitely gale force winds pushing into Unalaska and Alaska Peninsula, increasing wind and precipitation chances for the Pribilofs. Weakening low, southwest interior barely holding together now. Just some scattered isolated snow showers and mostly cloudy skies there for the lower Yukon River Valley to the Delta. And persisting rain and snow showers for the North Gulf Coast. But notice the Panhandle dry conditions tomorrow, and dry over the eastern interior, northern interior to the Arctic coast. Maybe some patchy fog. And then the outlook for Sunday, again, that low center slowly weakening a little bit. They're still at 944 millibars. So we got a lot of gale and storm force winds out over the Aleutians and portions of the Bering Sea. And that front weakening, but holds together pretty good for gale force winds coming into the coast. Warmer temperatures, so snow going to rain and snow going to rain for Kodiak Island, Alaska Peninsula. Snow and blowing snow on the increase, though, for the Yukon Delta. And out, especially St. Lawrence Island, and winds increasing to the Bering Strait, but staying dry in the interior, basically dry, increasing winds, Kenai Peninsula, southern Cook Inlet, rain and wind pushing into Kodiak Island, and the southeast coast, high pressure there over the Yukon and west British Columbia, keeping it pretty nice. Some sunshine in the afternoon, midday hours there, and otherwise variably cloudy out to the coastline. Same thing for the eastern interior. Minus the sunshine there, farther north you get, obviously, and variable clouds for the Arctic coast. Lows for tonight, again with the clear skies, anywhere from 5 to 25 below over the eastern interior, and shade below zero on the Arctic coast, either side actually, near zero on the central interior, to 5 below at Fairbanks, to 5 above at Galena, 0 at McGrath and Nikolai, and then south central Alaska, Susitna Valley, 5 to 15 to 20, and a little warmer down toward Kamishak Bay and Kachemak Bay, with mid-20s to mid-upper 30s for the Panhandle and lower 30s for the Aleutians, near 30 for the Pribilof. Highs tomorrow staying a little bit below zero, anywhere from 0 to 10 below for the Yukon Flats and the eastern interior there, maybe 7 above for Eagle. And the central coast there, Arctic coast, 4 below for your highs, a little above on each side there. Upper 20s for the Bristol Bay area, except Dillingham, lower 20s. And lower 40s for the western Alaska Peninsula and the central Aleutians, and mid-30s to lower 40s for the Panhandle. In the 20s, south central Alaska. Lows on Sunday morning. Let's call it 5 to 20 below for the north slope out to the Arctic coast, with the minus 20s in over the north slope, and then 5 to 15 below over the eastern interior, all the way down to the eastern Alaska Range, Northway Tok. 0 to 5 for portions of the Copper River Basin in the north and northeast, but then mid-20s down toward Prince William Sound, and lower 20s for the northern Panhandle, otherwise mid-30s toward the central coast. And then the highs for Sunday afternoon, near 30 for south central Alaska, 5 to 10 or 15 central interior, and a little below 0 for the north slope and the Arctic coast. Otherwise, the Panhandle, mid-30s, Juneau on up to Skagway and Haines, lower 40s central and southern southeast coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphic for the 26th day of December. We've got some marginal VFR for the western Arctic coast. Otherwise, pretty good, not too shabby for the interior from the North Slope, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, all the way down into Cook Inlet and across Kodiak Island. Marginal VFR, that weakening system, up into Prince William Sound and the eastern portion of the Kenai Peninsula. Some IFR, at least a start there from roughly Cordova or Cape Yakataga eastward to Yakutat, and a narrow band there across the northern panhandle, becoming marginal for the southern, south of the northern panhandle, and then the southern half looks VFR. Marginal VFR spreads to Unalaska Island and across the southern Bering Sea with the IFR from near Amchitka westward to the Komodorskis. And then for the for the afternoon tomorrow, we've got IFR there, Yakutat southward, but staying off the panhandle, off the coast. And some IFR slips on up, it looks like, possibly into central Cook Inlet from the Kenai Peninsula, maybe even turning an arm westward there into the Alaska Range. Probably won't get into the Kuskokwim Valley. And but marginal VFR will. Some IFR, southern Seward Peninsula to Gamble, northern Bering Sea marginal, big band IFR, Pribilofs down across the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, and then it kind of wraps back in around the central Aleutian areas from Adak westward to Chimyanat. And then for the Sunday morning, up north, North Slope, marginal VFR and marginal for the eastern Arctic coast, and then IFR along the Brooks Range there into the Yukon Flats and catching some of the Koyukuk Valley, but the Kobuk Valley to out to the northwest coast, western Arctic coast, and central Arctic coast, all VFR. Tanana Valley, 40 Mile Country, VFR into Copper River Basin with some marginal VFR both west and east and south and east of the Alaska Range with the IFR there. Western Cook Inlet up into the west central Susitna Valley over to the Alaska Range, and a band of IFR from southwest Kodiak Island across Bristol Bay, Cape Newenham, Nunivak Island, St. Matthew Island, Pribilofs marginal, and then more IFR there, and another band from the Alaska Peninsula just exiting Unalaska into the central Aleutians, and then Chimyanat right on the edge. For the afternoon, solid IFR there across much of the Bering Sea, especially the west and southwest areas, northern Bering Sea to St. Lawrence Island, and the southern coast of the Seward Peninsula. IFR, Yukon Delta, IFR, Nunivak Island, same thing. Some VFR possible for the Kuskokwim Delta with IFR there along the Kuskokwim Mountains down into the Aucklands and Togiak Bay, Dillingham, northeast Bristol Bay, IFR, Kodiak, mostly IFR, and some of the IFR up into southern Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, Kachemak Bay as well, but south of, say, Anchor Point, and then the southern Kenai Peninsula, marginal VFR, Prince William Sound, a portion of the Copper River Basin on down the Panhandle. And for passes, looking VFR for the Brooks Range tomorrow. Both Anaktuvuk and Adigan, VFR the entire day, either approach Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR possibly becoming marginal, maybe in the afternoon, possibly even let me back that up one. And Lake Clark could come IFR on the eastern approach tomorrow afternoon, possibly something to watch for. Rainy though, VFR the entire day. Windy, good VFR, and possibly marginal for Isabel, but back to VFR from Antasta. Tanita VFR, Portage IFR eastern approach, otherwise marginal, and Chilkoot and White VFR. Freezing levels 2,000 feet, central coast and the southern panhandle. Warmer air with that next storm coming in, pushing 6,000 feet up to the central Aleutians. Icing with that big band of moisture in the warmer air, be areas of considerable moderate rime icing into the Fox Islands and across the southern and south central Bering Sea, but looking north of the Aleutians, not quite reaching the Pribilof Islands. And then just a threat of some mixed icing, northern Cook Inlet, North Gulf Coast, and even a lesser threat of some icing there for the northern Bering Sea, Seward Peninsula. Jet stream, upper level, weak upper low, not really strong there for the southern Cook Inlet, and southwest flow 70-75 knots from the north slope to the Mackenzie River Delta area. Northwesterlies 90 knots across the Pribilofs down the Alaska Peninsula, and 70 south-southeast for the Panhandle. 9,000 feet, southerlies 45 knots into the North Gulf Coast. And at 3,000 feet, big storm out west there. You can see 70-knot winds there, especially along in advance of the front and then back with the main low center. That translates into moderate chop for turbulence, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, Atka, Chimyanat, and pretty smooth over the interior. A few bumpy areas over the mountainous terrain, but not too bad.
Welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder, and joining us once again is our good friend Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. He is here and has been here many times to talk to us about weather satellites and how those can help Alaskans understand our weather, how we can do better detection, keep more people safe from things even like volcanic ash. But today, Eric, you're going to talk to us a little bit more about weather satellites and how that can keep Alaskans safe and protect our property from wildfire, right?
That's right, Dave. Today's topic is where there's smoke, there's fire. And thanks for having us back again to Alaska
Anytime.
Weather. Well, weather satellites have a lot of different instruments on them. It turns out that the electromagnetic spectrum has a lot going on in it, and only one part of that is visible light, what we see.
Right.
Weather satellites, of course, report that. Today's topic is wildfires.
Okay.
There are some people who say that in Alaska in the summertime, you don't have severe weather. These people are usually from Oklahoma or somewhere. And F5 tornadoes tend not to occur in Alaska.
Right.
People have also said what we do have in the summer. What is Alaska's severe summer weather can be hydrology,
Right.
flash flood and erosion in the mountains and things like that, and fires, wildfires.
Absolutely.
Those were here in 2004, certainly remember that. We've got an example here from 2014. Now, it was a quiet season overall, but in May, down on the Kenai Peninsula, we had a wildfire on the Funny River, and this is a satellite image from a polar orbiter that went right over Alaska, and we can see the plume of smoke coming out of that fire on the Kenai, curling down. It's caught in the wind.
Right.
It goes down toward Kodiak Island, curves around. You can see it circulating around a low pressure system that's in the Gulf of Alaska.
It was a beautiful picture.
Oh my gosh.
Except there was a fire.
There's a fire there. The nice thing is with this satellite image, you can tell where the fire origin is, where the
Right.
smoke is coming from. And it's a color image. We're looking at the wavelength spectrum of about 0.4 to 0.7 micrometers or microns. That's what the human eye would see. If you were riding on the satellite and looked down, you could see this kind of an image.
Right.
So that's pretty nice. But it turns out there's more to the electromagnetic spectrum than just visible light.
Okay.
You've heard of infrared, ultraviolet, that kind of thing. If we move into longer wavelengths, let's go to one specifically, 3.7 microns.
Okay, 3.7.
Why worry about that one? Well, we've got an example here. 3.7, it turns out, happens to be very sensitive to a certain temperature range, temperatures where fires burn.
Okay.
And so we've got an example zoomed in a little more from that same Funny River fire down on the Kenai Peninsula, and we can see that you get up into a few hundred degrees Fahrenheit,
Right.
and that's where the colors are. We can see there on the Funny River fire to the west and to the east, almost a horseshoe shape there, is not only we're seeing where the fire is in a general sense, but specifically where's the active fire
That is where
front.
it's burning right now.
And it's
Amazing.
3.7 microns is the important temperature there.
Okay.
That's right.
So this is really important to firefighters on the ground, people that are making plans and directing the firefighters on where they need to go and cut the trenches and keep people safe.
You know it. If you want to fight that fire, you got to know where it is.
Okay.
You got to know the leading edge. We've also got a movie loop, nothing quite like animating it in time.
Yeah.
You can see the fire spreading out over time with a succession of film or a succession of images. Now, this is one channel, 3.7 micron. You know, we looked at that color smoke image before.
Right.
And that's actually a red, a green, and a blue. That's how you get color imagery. What if you took 3 different wavelengths in the infrared? You went from like 2.2 micron, 1.5 micron, up to 3.7. You mix them together, you get this other kind of color image, which is even a better way to sharply bring out the details of where that leading edge of the fire is.
Okay.
You'll note, though, in the infrared, guess what? We don't see the smoke. That's too bad. And on these movie loops, you can see the clouds go by. These channels can't see through clouds. The lesson is there's no one perfect solution. You got to have the visible, got to have some of that infrared single 3.7 channel, some of the infrared mixing to help get a different perspective. Another one, we've talked before about a fun channel called the day-night band.
Yes, one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, and in Alaska in the winter, it's great. We got all this darkness. The day-night band is so sensitive to seeing light. You can see features that otherwise aren't available. Now in Alaska, when you have a forest fire, it tends to be light out all the time.
Right.
It's our summer. But we can go down south to the Rim Fire in California in 2013. Now, okay, it was in California, not Alaska, but Alaskan crews went down to fight that fire, so we can talk about it here on Alaska Weather. Here we have a 3.7 micron channel shot of the rim fire, again, kind of a horseshoe shape, showing that active fire front down there. And then we'll look again to the day-night band, the visible light, and then you can see how the fire is all bright. You can see the active fire front and actually the city lights over there too. Turns out that the cities, while they're active in a social sense, are not really hot in a fire sense. So they don't show up in the 3.7 micron. They're not hot like a fire is, but the fire in the cities look the same from a visible light perspective. And a fun thing here too is that we can see the smoke plume going north from the rimfire on the day-night band. So if we were ever to have, like in 2004 in Alaska, you get dark at night, we still had an active fire season that year.
Right.
That was, you know, that really bad year. The day-night band didn't exist then, but if we had fires now in August, we could use it then. The lesson here is weather satellites, they offer many different wavelengths of light. Some are used for different purposes, and some of these we just looked at tonight are especially helpful here in Alaska to find and to track the behavior of these wildfires so the crews can go out there and do their jobs.
Sure, sure. So a satellite toolbox for the firefighting crews and the fire weather forecasters, and it just underlines how important satellites are, especially for Alaska and our mission for the National Weather Service to protect life and property, and also to enhance the national economy. So wonderful stuff there, Eric. And people can look at pictures like this anytime by going to gina.alaska.edu. You'll find images there all around Alaska at various times of the year, and not just about fire weather, but volcanic ash and smoke and anything else you want to check out. They're always beautiful pictures and always interesting to look at no matter what time of the day. Thanks again for joining us, Eric. We appreciate it and welcome you back anytime. For this edition of Alaska Weather Facts, I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder. See you next time.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at the sea ice forecast for today, looks like a little bit less as long as ice concentration extent there, Togiak, Bristol Bay, and hard to tell much different from yesterday for the southwest coast there, except kind of a lead it looks like extending up from roughly Hooper Bay there to the west of Amonic, and then a little bit of thinner ice there eastern Norton Sound up possibly into Norton Bay, and ice in and around Savunga, or I'm sorry, St. Lawrence Island, then Savunga, and then on up into the Bering Strait. And for the coastal water forecasts, tomorrow not bad on the winds there for the inside waters, central and southern inside waters, 10 knots from the southeast, 2 to 5 foot seas, Lynn Canal southeast 15, seas 3 feet. Light northerlies there on the central and south coast at 10 knots, 11 to 12 foot seas, and then the north coast, southeast 15, 12 foot seas, and then small craft advisories farther up the coast there, the more north of the north coast, southeast 25, 15 foot seas. And then for Sunday, Lynn Canal, light northerlies at 10 knots, otherwise southeast 10 to 15 knot winds, breezes for the central and southern inside waters, and east-southeast 15 for the south coast, and southeast 15 for the north coast, with seas running 9 feet there in the north to 11 feet in the south. Cook Inlet, northeast, 10 knots, seas 3 feet north of the Forelands. Southern Cook Inlet, northerlies at about 15, turning northwest for Kamishak Bay. Barren Island, southwest 20, seas 10 feet, and small craft advisories for the western North Gulf Coast. Winds coming up, at least for a period there, at 25 knots out of the west. And then possible storm force winds for the eastern North Gulf Coast, Middleton Island. That kicks in tonight, later tonight, and into early tomorrow morning. And then as that system weakens, and it should drop off pretty rapidly toward midday. But there is a possible storm warning there for the North Gulf Coast, eastern North Gulf Coast, late tonight into early tomorrow. Gale warnings for Prince William Sound, same time frame. And then for Sunday, southeast 35 for the North Gulf Coast, 11 to 13 foot seas. Winds turning east, increasing to 30 knots for Prince William Sound, seas building to 11 feet. And southeast 40 for the Barren Islands, 45 knots out of the southeast Kamishak Bay. Southern Cook Inlet, easterlies, 30 knots, 8 foot seas, north of the Forelands, northeast at 15. Kodiak Island, west winds, 25 knots, 5 to 10 foot seas. Sitkanack to Castle Cape, 30 knots out of the west, and then 40 to 45 knots southeast winds for the Alaska Peninsula. And Bristol Bay, small craft advisories for west winds at 25. Those will swing around to the southeast and increase to 45 knots sustained there for Bristol Bay, just under storm force. Full gales, seas 12 feet, and southerlies for the Alaska Peninsula, 30 to 35 knots with seas as high as 25 feet south side, and 45 knot winds there from the south from Sitkanack to Castle Cape, and then southeast 45 for the east side of Kodiak, and minimum gales from the southeast for Shelikof Strait. Fox Island, southeast winds 50 knots tomorrow. South to southeast winds 50 knots for AKwx. Good for storm warnings, and down to 45 knots there for Amchitka, and then back up to 50 knots from the southeast for the western Aleutians. Almost had the whole area there in storm warnings. Not quite though. Northwest 40 knots, Shimei and Atu to Kiska on Sunday. Southeast 50 continues. So storm warnings, Amchitka, AKwx through Sunday. Southwest winds 50 knots, seas up to 45 feet. And south 30 to 40 knot winds for Unalaska Island, and 32-foot seas Pacific side, 45 knots for Unmak Island with seas as high as 40 feet. Southwest coast, small craft advisory, southeast 25 to 30 knots, 45 knot winds, good gales for the Pribilofs tomorrow, east 35 St. Matthew Island, northeast 30 for St. Lawrence Island, and then 40 knot winds out of the east, St. Lawrence Island, Yukon Delta coast, southeast 45, Kuskokwim Delta coast, storm warning St. Matthew Island, and gale warnings for the Pribilof, south winds at 35. Eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow, light northeast breeze, 15 knots, even lighter there for the central coast out of the northeast, 20 knots for the area from Point Lay on down, but that increases to 30 knots. Brisk wind advisories from Cape Beaufort all the way down to Wales for 30 knot winds, and that continues into Sunday for northeast winds 25 to 30 knots, 20 knots western Arctic coast, northeast 10 to 15 central and east side. For tonight, dry and mostly clear, variable clouds, especially of the higher stuff there for the eastern interior, but not too bad. And that weakening low pulls moisture and possible storm force winds from the eastern North Gulf Coast. Winter storm warning for late tonight into tomorrow for Thompson Pass for blizzard conditions. And snow showers continue along the west coast. Big storm out west gradually pushes eastward into the southwest coast with the front on Sunday.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.